Early this morning, Australian time, news broke that Israel and Hamas had agreed to a ceasefire hostage deal, brokered by the US, Qatar and Egypt. Since then, we've been combing the latest updates from various credible sources, and I've been speaking with AIJAC's expert analysts to break down what the deal actually entails beyond the headlines, and what we can expect to see next. So let's first start with the deal itself, which is structured into 3 stages. The first stage of the ceasefire spans 42 days, that's 6 weeks, and begins on Sunday at 12:15 p.m. Israel time. 33 hostages will be freed gradually in stage 1. All living hostages will be released first, followed by the return of those who've died. The schedule sees 3 to 4 hostages released each Sunday over the next 6 weeks. In the final week, 14 hostages will be released. The 33 hostages are made up of female civilians and IDF soldiers, including 8 young women in their early 20s, children, older men aged from 50 to 86-year-old Shlomo Mansour, and the injured or severely ill. Shiri Bibas, 33, and her children Kafia, who turns 2 on Saturday, and 5-year-old Ariel are rumoured to be among those slated for the first release on Sunday. According to reports in the Israeli media, most of the 33 are assumed to be alive, but Hamas has yet to provide the names of confirmed living hostages. What we do know is this. This morning, US State Department spokesman Matthew Miller reported that only 3 of the 7 American hostages are still alive. But Ethiopian-born Israeli Avera Mengistu and Bedouin Israeli Hisham al-Sayad, who've been held captive in Gaza since 2014 and 2015, have been reported by the Israeli media as living hostages to be freed in this phase. But the price Israel must pay to free the hostages is this. For every civilian or child hostage that Hamas releases, Israel will release 30 Palestinian children or women held for security offences. For every kidnapped IDF soldier that Hamas releases, Israel will release 50 Palestinian prisoners, 30 serving life sentences and 20 with other sentences of up to 15 years. And in total, over 1,000 Palestinian security prisoners will be released in return for the initial 33 hostages. Israeli officials have said Palestinian prisoners with blood on their hands will not be returned to the West Bank and instead be exiled to Gaza or abroad, possibly Qatar, Turkey or Egypt. Officials have said that anybody who participated in the October 7 terror attack would not be freed. Meanwhile, during stage 1, 600 trucks of humanitarian aid will flow into Gaza daily, monitored by Israel, while the reconstruction of water, electricity and sewage systems in the Strip will begin. But we must remember that while 33 hostages are set to be released in stage 1, 65 hostages will still remain in Hamas captivity. In a proposed but not yet finalised second stage, male soldiers, men of military age and the bodies of 36 hostages that Israel have confirmed dead will be released. That leaves some 29 hostages, including 22 Israelis and 7 foreign nationals thought to be alive. Negotiations to free the remaining hostages, both living and deceased, will begin on the 16th day of stage 1. That's February 3. Israeli officials insist that the IDF will remain in a new buffer zone in Gaza to better protect Israeli border communities and that Israel will not fully withdraw from Gaza until the war's objectives are met. That includes, specifically, the release of all hostages. Critically, Israel will maintain reduced control of the Philadelphia corridor, the 14-kilometre strip of land along the Gaza-Egypt border, though there'll be some redeployment there. Assets Israel will hold on to include high-profile terrorists and territory in Gaza, which will be used as leverage to ensure the safe return of all hostages in the second stage of negotiations. The second stage aims to establish a permanent truce and will involve the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, though arrangement for monitoring the Philadelphia corridor may be put in place. Other items to be determined include security arrangements for Palestinians who fled from the north to the humanitarian area that Israel established in the south. Israeli reports say that civilians will be able to freely move northward, but armed Palestinians will not be allowed to do so. So what happens next? Bear in mind, this is all still unfolding, but preparations on the ground are underway, with the IDF already announcing the name of the operation to return the hostages as Wings of Freedom. Over the next 2 days, the deal is expected to be ratified by the Israeli Security Cabinet, and then the full cabinet. Immediately after, the list of Palestinian prisoners to be released will be published. The Israeli public will have less than 48 hours to appeal to the Supreme Court to object to the release of individual terrorists on the list. But it's expected that the Supreme Court will likely reject any such appeals. By the time of US President Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday, these procedures will most likely have concluded. In fact, the first group of hostages will most likely be freed by Sunday. In a statement issued shortly after the announcement of the agreement, Trump said the deal could only have happened because of his victory. Trump added that his team will work with Israel and America's allies to ensure Gaza never again becomes a terrorist safe haven, which will include expanding the Abraham Accords between Israel and other Arab states. Hopefully, the incoming Trump administration will deal with the most significant threat remaining, Iran and its nuclear weapons project. Although there's still a lot that can go wrong, we deeply hope all the hostages will be freed and returned to their families, and that a new dawn for the Middle East can truly begin.